What is going on, everybody? Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Truck Parking Clubhouse. I'm your guy, Mike Lombard, back at you for 2026. It's very excited for 2026. Before we get rolling to the Clubhouse this evening, just to let you know, about 38-ish minutes ago, the 51st edition of Taillights, it doesn't look like this. It's in your inbox, but it has a similar picture on top. Has dropped in to your inbox. Maybe check your spam folder. Covered some crazy articles. We kind of learn a little bit of the power of when Elon Musk gets on his own platform of X and Twitter. He has tweeted something about a tort reform bill that was in the Texas legislature. And so he's jumped into the conversation about, liability issues in the trucking industry. And I was at the Texas State Capitol last year in 2025 during the legislative session as tort reform was a big hot topic. Going on, and a tort reform bill did end up failing, and it's stalled in the Judiciary Committee. But now it's found itself back in the limelight with Texas politicians jumping into the conversation just because Elon Musk tweeted about it. So we cover that in the newsletter. Also, just today, a random regular DOT inspection led to a huge cocaine bust in Indiana. $7 million worth of cocaine from just your regular old DOT inspection. So it was no sting operation, no nothing. They just caught a couple of guys who were headed from Joplin over to Virginia, and guess they were caught up in some bad stuff. And as always, we've got a survey in there. We'd love the feedback from our trucker members as well as some of our partner codes and some more information. But without any further delay, I want to bring on two amazing people who are just a fire show on social media. The Corvette Couple. What's happening?
Evening.
Hey.
Good evening. And we get two for the price of one. I'm glad to have both of you guys on the channel this evening. Where are you guys tuning in from?
We're in Wisconsin. The wonderful, balmy, I don't know if it was about 30 degrees out there. They actually had a pretty warm day today down here.
We were in t-shirts for part of the day.
40 degrees down here. Kind of surprising.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a little bit of a warm front. That's definitely shorts weather for me. For Wisconsin this time of year, but at least you're not freezing too cold.
Well, he's cold anytime it's under 72.
Yeah, we're from the desert, so anything under 70 degrees, I'm freezing.
Yeah, I feel you. So you're from the desert. I'd love to hear the Corvette Couple story. So how did you two, walk us up to today? What got you two behind the wheel of a truck?
Well, I was brought into the industry as a kid. My uncle hauled cattle, so I used to ride with him quite often in the summer times and on vacation times through school and such. And then ended up getting in the automotive field, turned wrenches for decades. And when I actually met Daisha here, I was a crew chief on a Trans Am car, and she happened to be there with some friends, and kind of the rest is history. She came back to. We met. She moved in.
I did. I was like, hey, let's go warmer. So. And
then we ended up spending quite a bit of time around Corvettes and such. It's kind of my passion. It's been my thing for years. It's what I did before I started trucking. I was like I said, a mechanic and had a Corvette shop for a lot of years, and ended up doing that. And Daisha did it with me for a while, and then. We decided, hey, let's go do something different. I've been doing it forever, and trucking was something that I wanted to get into and do, and here we are.
Yeah.
And that's us. So you went from being the mechanic. I'm partial to Corvettes and Trans Ams myself. Getting a little bit of detail. My dad used to own a really cool, I think it might have been a 1973 Trans Am, 73 or 76. I have the picture of it, but it was red. And now my dad. He didn't finish high school, and when he dropped out of high school, he took that Trans Am and drove from Connecticut to Florida. That was his. That's how he got out of town. And honestly, I think it's the coolest story ever, because I can only imagine this would have been 1979 or 80 when he did it. And I'll never know what that kind of freedom was probably like, to just be like, just cutting loose at 16, 17 years old, and probably one of the coolest cars you can. And
Right.
End of the story. My dad ended up all right. He still owns his own business today, doing small parts manufacturing. But what an awesome. I don't know. I think there's a lot of people who kind of dream for moments like that. And then my grandfather, who was an owner of Lombard Trucking, he was a huge Corvette guy, and he I mean, he had pictures all over his wall because he had them all the time throughout the 50s and 60s, and he owned several of those Corvettes and was a huge fan of them. And I always asked him growing up where they all went, and he never really had an answer for that. But they all did end up getting sold and gone. So I'm partial to those types of cars. But so I'm curious to know what made you decide to say, all right, we're going trucking. What was like the defining moment where you're like, hey, line in the sand, let's go do this?
Yeah, it was one of those. I've been doing the same thing for years, and we decided to relocate to Las Vegas. And we, at that point in time, it was like, our kids are grown, they're out of the house, they've got their own lives now, and kind of now's the opportunity, get out, see the country. And I enjoy driving a lot, so kind of just made sense to get out and go and do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, is it just you, or is it both you guys?
Oh yeah, I'm just a passenger princess.
She's the administrative assistant and passenger princess, which works out really well because there's a lot of times your dispatch or your planners and all that, you're calling and trying to get loads and figure out receivers and shippers and whatnot. So it works out great. I've got somebody who can get on the phone and handle a lot of that stuff for me. So we kind of double team it all the time. But no, it's just me bending the wheel. She every time we're back in the yard, the trainers there are always like, hey, when you get your license? And what's your answer?
Nope, you couldn't pay me enough. They deal with so much stress, and you know what? We've met teams, and it works for some people, and that's great for them. But I don't want to be sleeping when he's driving. And the point of us being together is the country, and like that's part of the reason we fell into Truck Parking Club is because I spend time going, okay, we're going here. What's around there? What do we want to see? Where can we park? How can we make more of this than survival than just driving?
Yeah, absolutely. But let's dive right in that now. I'm curious. So because you kind of have your own assistant with you next to you, how did you end up finding Truck Parking Club?
So we actually were looking for spots to park in New York.
I think the first time was when you went to check on the boat.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So yes. I wasn't on the truck yet.
Yeah, she's right. So Sacramento was actually my first visit. She hadn't been on the truck yet, but I needed a spot to park. We've got a boat down around there, and I decided to, I had a load, and the company's real big on security and having fenced in secured areas to leave the trucks. They don't like us to meander away from them when we're not going to be around them. So yeah, I did find that one. Yeah,
yep.
Right.
Yep. And then I got on the truck, and it was a New York trip, and then I swear we've used that New York one a few times. Because if you're going to be out there, enjoy it, right? Like
technically it's New Jersey, but it's right there.
Technically it's New Jersey.
Yeah.
I know. People always yell at me.
We were just there last week.
We were just there again last week, and did some adventures there. But I mean, because of it, we've got to go to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Mm-hmm. We've got to check out on our boat. We've got to go to the Corvette Nationals
in Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah.
So yeah, not to mention just the times that we're like, we need to park. It's quick and easy in and out.
Yeah, both the New York and Chicago locations, great locations. They've got security right at the gate. Again, both times we were under load, so we were able to leave the truck, walk away with no worries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're almost using Truck Parking Club for work and play.
Yes, absolutely.
Because when we've been Chicago especially we did a 34 reset there, and I guess New York was almost 48 hours as well when we were there in Jersey.
Yep. Yeah, so that's why it's like for us it's not even up for debate. If we're going to be on the truck, I don't want to be stuck just somewhere staring out the window. We do that all day. Like we have such an advantage now in trucking when it comes to this day and age. You can have Truck Parking Club and park somewhere secure and safe. Mm-hmm. You get a lift and go somewhere. You can have DoorDash deliver you food. Walmart deliver you stuff.
Or DoorDash bring you groceries. Yeah.
We have it so much easier in that sense.
Yeah.
And we've just found a next level with using Truck Parking Club.
No, that's awesome. That's good to hear. And when it comes to utilizing Truck Parking Club, what's it been like using the app? I'm curious to know, like, what's your general feedback? Has it been easy for you? Have you had to talk to customer service at all?
We've never had to talk to customer
No.
service. I love it because you have filters. So like he was talking about the company. So that end I tend to do a lot. I'll do like the pre scan of things and I'm like, here are my top 3. Which one do you like best? But I like it because you can filter out. I always choose ones that have security, a bathroom. So there's the filtering right on there. I can check box, boom, see a map and go.
Yeah, the overviews are nice too because you actually get a view of what the place really looks like. So when you go to maneuver in, you have a general idea, which is always nice on the satellite views.
Yeah, and like what the gate looks like and all of that. So we've really liked it. I wish like the list was easier to scan sometime if I had to give any feedback, but it's there and that's makes it so much simpler.
That's awesome. You mentioned that New York City, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I'd love to hear more about that. So what did that process look like? Where were you hauling a load in the area? Where were you coming to and from? And what made you, when did you kind of realize, oh hey, we can go to this parade?
Sorry, you want me to tell it?
So we were actually under load and we were on our way there and I said, the scheduling doesn't really look like it's going to work. If they want us to deliver it at what time was our delivery at? It was like late afternoon on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, so it actually started in Canada. We left Canada and we were up in Binghamton. And I'm looking at him. We're ready to settle in. We're trying to find our holiday Chinese food because that's what we do on Christmas and Thanksgiving. And we're sitting at just a general parking spot. And I looked at him and it just like it clicked. And I was like, oh my gosh, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. We're in New York. And I look at him and he had already just drove out of Canada, all the customs, all these things. And I'm like, honey, so if we drive like 2 more hours, we could go to the Thanksgiving Day Parade. And he's like, where are we going to park? What are we going to do? Let me look at this load. And that's where he got into like the times were off. And he was like, I don't think they're open. So he started calling where we were going and they were like, no, we're not here tomorrow. And he's like, make it happen. So I'm on Truck Parking Club app while he's on the phone calling the receivers and stuff. And he's like, let's go.
Yeah. So next thing you know, we're parked and before the sun came up, we were like, that literally tens of thousands of other people in New York caught a lift from right there at the entrance of the Truck Parking Club and ended up taking a lift right down to we're Central Park.
Yeah, right by Central Park.
We viewed it right from Central Park right there. The guy dropped us off, walked a few blocks, and yeah, great time. I mean, it's if you want to see a city, yeah, it's these some of these parking spots that are just like right there in the hubs of the cities. Such an advantage on that to be able to get out and like live out of the truck for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. How far was that Lyft ride from our location to Midtown?
Yeah, it was probably 15 minutes, 5 miles.
Yeah. It's so
nice.
Right there in New York. That's why I always call it the New York one, but he's right. It is New Jersey. And we've delivered 2 or 3 times out of there because so Macy's, we delivered in Jersey. And then the first time we found it, you were delivering to New York down to that really
Hunts
difficult
Hunts Point, which Hunts Point offers parking, but it's just such a madhouse down there. And then with that? It's cool you're downtown if you want to get out and walk out of the truck. But I mean, again, your truck's sitting there and we've already had issues with people,
not us, but other people have.
We've known issues with people running into our truck.
Oh, that, yeah. I thought you meant like theft and
stuff.
We haven't.
We're on number 3 now of truck stops and people backing in and running into our truck. And yeah, that's a whole other saga. But
you find when people pay for parking, they tend to care more.
Yep.
Like in retrospect, not that you ever have to pay every day for parking, but even if you paid for parking every day, you would still spend less than replacing a bumper or a hood on any of these trucks.
Yeah.
I was just about to ask you, have you had some incidents at other, not Truck Parking Club locations, but just parking in general at maybe travel centers or truck stops? Have you had any issues? You seem to have mentioned you had some damaged equipment.
Yeah, we actually had, over the summer, we had a bumper completely torn off front of the truck. And the guy tried evading, which was crazy because it's crazy story. The guy's dragging our bumper through the parking lot as I'm chasing him down on foot. And then, before I could get there, he chucks the bumper into the bushes, denies he ever hits us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this is a company truck. There's like 7 cameras all over it. I mean, we've got you on film doing that.
Yeah.
And then just the other night, we actually have my truck washed finally, because after running up here up north, getting all the salt off of it, there's a nice little love mark on the front corner of the hood. And it's one of those things is people just, I don't know if they can't drive, don't care, didn't see. Not sure what happened there.
But I'll tell you what, we sleep so much better when we're at a truck parking club. One, because they're limited space. And 2, if you're going to pay for parking, you generally give a care.
Mm-hmm.
But the hood on this truck alone, what was it, $15,000 last time?
$15,000 before even paying it.
Yeah. So we would pay for it. If we paid parking every day, we still wouldn't spend that. So when people give us guff on that, we're like, okay, if you want to just throw money away on parts and stuff, I'd rather go see New York or have takeout or do something better with my money.
And even as an owner operator, these guys have an advantage. Sorry, my truck's got an electric APU, so he decides to start up when he wants to start up.
It's our AI truck.
So these guys that complain about the cost of it, even as an owner operator, you've got an advantage as an owner operator to write that off. So there's advantages to being in a secured area where you don't have to worry about people running into your stuff.
Yeah, I'd say when you start to look at trucking, even as a company driver, when you think about it, because I remember when I was still a company driver, I had a truck that was down. It had a recall on it, and it had taken a while. I think I was out like off the road, and I was stuck at like the Irving terminal. So it's not like I was home, and I was stuck. It was maybe five or so days when you think about it. And granted, that was a recall. That's a mechanical issue. But even for that damage or whatever part, if you are a company driver and say something does happen to your bumper or something where it does need to get fixed, maybe your company pays you layover or what have you, but you're not making as much as you would. And so whether you're a company driver or owner operator, if you're looking at trucking over the course of your career or just a year and you're factoring in those kinds of costs that come with it, that's why it's in the motto. Like, we help truckers save time and fuel. And when you save time and fuel, that's where the money comes from. Funny enough, this is actually a great comment from LinkedIn. Because this happens at rest areas, and they can kind of do it anywhere. Is that DOT can do inspections at truck stops and rest areas, whereas DOT's really not going to come out to a truck parking club property. So that's another selling point I think maybe we're missing out on. Whereas if you're trying not to, because if you're in Ohio, I'm not sure if you experience it, but Ohio rest stops are like notorious, where if you're staying there, you'll just get knocked on. You'll just, there will just be guys rolling through for DOT inspections. So you'd stay in a truck parking club could help you dodge a DOT inspection.
Where were we the other night when
Connecticut does the same thing. There were rest areas, our way stations. Now we are lucky that we drive for a company that has new equipment. They stay on top of it. So like for us, it's more about seeing the country and sleeping at night than it is of vaping those things. But it's becoming definitely more popular as they're remodeling these rest areas. It's way station and then inspection slots and then you're parking. So,
but even if you don't get cited, it's the downtime of the guy combing through your records, combing through your truck. And we only get so many hours a day to drive, so many hours a day to be on the clock, and everybody's working the clock. And the next thing you know, you take 2 hours up with the guy combing over your truck. You might miss your delivery or push your whole days off.
Yeah, no, we definitely love the private factor of it. And you were talking about time, how close you can get. The amount of times that we look for truck parking club, and it is so much closer to a final for us or even a pickup where we can get in and out. We're not having to manipulate or do some of the things that you hear people doing about online to make their time go farther because we're right there.
Yeah,
we can stay clean and legal.
Areas like the for instance, you got Colorado around the Denver area. Horrible for any truck stops at all. So unless you let time on your clock to get in there and get out of there, it's bad. The California Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, there's no truck stops anywhere out there. So unless you save time on your clock, get in there, get out of there, get a day where traffic's not going to halt you up forever, which is, highly unlikely. End up spending, 4 hours in traffic to go 60 miles.
Yeah,
it's
crazy
crazy
out
out
there. Saved us so many ways like that.
That's always my biggest talking point whenever I'm, whenever I'm out at events and talking to people who haven't driven, especially trucking related events. I tell the story all the time of a load that, I frequently would go from Fort Smith to Ontario. And then after I delivered Ontario, I'd pick up in Carson and then turn around. It was going back to either Oklahoma City or maybe somewhere in the DFW area. It really all depended. But when I would leave Ontario, I'd get that pickup in Carson the same day. And so that's all the way from Ontario. That's all the way across LA County. It's all the way down by the Port of Long Beach. And so to get out there, get loaded and make it back to like the TA or Petro in Ontario, which is another, you still have to pay to go there. And it's not the most luxurious place you can be at the TA or Petro in Ontario. I've done it several times where I put myself on PC, which is definitely illegal. It's a violation, but because I'd be loaded and I would be on PC from Carson all the way back to Ontario because I had no choice, because I wasn't going to park on the street around Carson or Compton, California. Like it just didn't make sense.
It's dangerous.
Drivers should be on the side of the road. Like we see them and we're like, why would you risk your safety over any dollar amount? But most of the time, especially Truck Parking Club, get on and get someone's code. You put it on any social media, you can find one of us out there.
Yeah,
you can find something
$40
close.
or under.
It's that's
just crazy.
We see that, and I'm like, why would you risk yourself?
Our company, it's actually a right up or a fireable offense. They call it a sitting duck. You can't use on ramps, off ramps, park on the side of the highways. That's a big no for them. They do it for the safety reason of not only the driver but the general motoring public running into the back of a big rig.
Yeah, and you want to invite unwelcome inspections and stuff. That's a great red flag.
Way, yeah.
So, I don't understand with how easy you guys have made it between the app and just locations. Why? But that's a whole different argument, I think, with people.
Now, you mentioned that your company doesn't allow you to park on off ramps. That's I wanted to circle back to that for a little bit. I'm curious, when did you get over the road? Have you been with the same company? Who'd you start with, and who are you driving for now?
Somewhat Stevens Transport. Been with them just about a year and a half now, and they've been great. I mean, they're a family-owned company. They actually recommend you guys on our, it's called the macro system on our tablet. So they actually recommend you guys, especially in our Northeast areas where it's high security areas. Truck Parking Club comes up as places to park. Now, parking on my end of it with being a company driver is reimbursable through the company. So, when I park in a lot of these spots, we can get it back as an expense, and the company goes ahead and reimburses us. And it works out perfectly because of the fact that, it's secured areas and we know the truck's safe, because, even if the truck's not loaded, we still have our personal goods in here.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to come back to a truck that's been looted, because, between trying to find, replacement pieces and parts inside the truck, it's not exactly easy to just park these things in a mall parking lot and go in and go shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're driving for Stevens Transport. You've been with them a year and a half. Did you happen to get your CDL through them, or did you kind of go your own way?
I got my CDL in Las Vegas when I lived there, or when we at home there. We do live there.
I mean, we see it sometimes.
Yeah, we see it once. It is being on the road. We kind of call it our glorified storage shed at home. That's what our house basically is, because we frequently as we're there, but we choose to stay out on the road.
I was gonna say that's a choice.
We could be home more often.
Steven.
But yeah, I did get my license on my own. Searched quite a few companies out there, and obviously the black trucks are beautiful, and Stevens has great equipment. None of our trucks are over 400,000 miles old. They turn them out. So I think the oldest truck you'll find on the yard right now is probably like a late 2023, and that even those are probably going to get sold here fairly quick. So they've been real good. They keep us absolutely loaded. I have no problem with miles. I mean, we're 26 to 3,000 miles a week, 2,600, 3,000 miles a week. So definitely no problem with runs. We're a refrigerated company, so it's food based. So no matter what the economy is doing, everybody needs to eat.
Yeah.
So there's no shortage of runs there. And it's a family company. They've been around for 45 years. The family's still involved in the company. They're personable people. We've met several of them throughout the times that we've been in the yard, and the yard's kind of like a second home for us. When we go there, we kind of know everybody, so it keeps it pretty tight knit. Yeah, we enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. What made you decide? You said you looked at a bunch of companies. I'm curious what stood out with them. They've got newer equipment, which is great. Anything else, stand out for where you're like, okay, this is who I'm gonna work for?
We ran the pros and cons list.
We did.
With kind of our top 5, which was he had equipment he wanted. There were certain things he didn't want to drive, and a certain amount of mileages on the wear and tear on the vehicles. We wanted something stand out. Reimbursements that they did, like the parking, that they were all over the U.S. So we can be, say example, when we went to Corvette Nationals, we were like, we need to be in Chicago this week to do it, which is why we don't get home, because we use our personal time to see the U.S. And they were like, great, we'll find you a load there. They had a rider program, so I could be along because we're doing that. So we want to be together. And so when you compared things side to side, the amount of things that companies don't tell you was really eye-opening, to be like, oh, it's all great and everybody wants to push cents per mile, but there's more to quality of life than cents per mile.
Yeah, a lot of these trucking companies, they hand you the wheels of an 18-wheeler, they hand you the keys to an 18-wheeler. And one of my questions was, okay, so when I'm on home time, what do I do with my truck?
Yeah, storage.
And they were just like, well, it's your truck. You do whatever you want with it. I'm like, well, I don't exactly have, my neighborhood's not going to really allow me to park.
Our HOA would not allow that.
They're not going to allow me to park a truck on my block. So what do I do with it? They're like, well, we don't know. Where, Stevens Transport immediately was like, oh yeah, when you're on home time,
here are approved parking spots.
Here's the approved parking spots. You park it there. Just send us a PO and we'll pay for it. Yeah. So that was definitely, that was also huge, because, who wants to have time off and not only not have the income for that time off, but then turn around and have to pay, a couple $100 for leaving your truck parked somewhere.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty sweet setup. So no complaints there. Plan on hanging around at Stevens for a good time. We always, especially on Instagram, we have some live viewers who always tune into this stuff, and through our channels. So we do get a lot of messages from newer people entering the industry, and they'll have a lot of questions. And at Truck Parking Club, a good majority of our company is staffed by former drivers, and so we always, even though we're a place where you can instantly reserve truck parking, we also, that's why we do this live stream. That's why we have the partner program in general, is for outreach to the industry on kind of, best practices and just giving good information to people out there. So, if the Corvette Couple is putting the stamp on it and you're a driver out there, and you guys are looking for a carrier, Stevens Transport, I believe they're out of Dallas, Fort Worth, and they'll hire all lower 48. They have a specific hiring area at all?
Nope.
No.
Because they choose you, like he said, the parking thing is a big thing for most companies. They're like, we want you back at our lots. Stevens is like, as long as it's secure, and they send you a list. So they're like, when the first time you came home, before I got on the truck, they were like, here's a bunch of parking spots, but they have to have security, and they have to have gates, and they have to have all these things, but they'll also pay for it. So they set a standard, and they put their money there because the investment is both us and the truck. They're basically handing you the same price vehicle as a Lamborghini. And when people think about that, it's like, oh yeah, that needs to be somewhere secure. Mm-hmm. So I think that was a big factor.
Yeah. It's definitely I've got no problems at all with their training, even for veterans coming into that want another company. They're a great company for even guys that have lots of experience on the road. They've got maybe a week or so that they would have to kind of go through and find the Stevens way. But then after that, they're out on their own. The guys coming into it fresh, if they're out of school or if they went to school with Stevens, they've got 4 to 6 weeks. You're with a trainer, which, that was also a little bit shorter than some companies. But then again, it was, longer than some companies. Some companies had like a 3-week training, and then you rode with another guy that you trained with. So now you got these two green guys in a truck riding across the U.S. together. And I'm like, well, and you have to do that for like 6 months. You ride with another green guy. And, it's let's face it, we're all truckers because, personal space is personal space. we kind of like our own stuff and our own ways to do things. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits to our company. We've really enjoyed working with them and don't have any foreseen future of bouncing out anywhere. That's for sure.
Yeah, it works for us. And like we said, we always tell people run a pros and cons. The reason we started doing social media with it was because we wanted to show another avenue. You see teams, you see solo drivers, but to see a couple that I don't drive, he drives, the things you can do outside of the truck gives a whole nother perspective to it and just broadens the horizons. And like we said with Stevens, there's just things that work for us. It may not work for everybody. I don't know. We've owned companies. We've done things together with a lot of other outside stress. There's something about getting in a truck that they're going to take care of. We have an issue. We make a phone call. We don't have to spend time on the load boards. We just get to be together and enjoy trucking and seeing America. Mm-hmm. And you guys also help make it possible.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It was like the best app we found.
Awesome. No, that's good to hear. Good to hear Stevens is treating you guys well. Good to hear that, utilizing the Truck Parking Club app has helped as well. And kind of touch on the kind words that you shared, in the past 10 or so years within the freight industry, there's been a lot of technology that's come in, and a lot of it drivers don't love. Drivers don't love driver facing cameras. We talked about in the newsletter last week about a carrier that had a lawsuit with driver facing cameras up in Illinois. People don't love ELDs. People don't love the ELDs. The hours of service and ELD kind of they're kind of entangled now. But a lot of the technology that's coming up, macro point, all this stuff that is tracking you, all the stuff that brokers want carriers to use, and a lot of that technology has rushed itself into the industry, and drivers haven't necessarily been the biggest fan of it because it's required. It's all it's done is encroached onto the driver. It hasn't really benefited them like personally. Maybe it benefits the carrier. Maybe the business itself does, but the driver, a lot of responsibility is either rolled onto the driver, and some of their autonomy has been removed from technology. And I honestly, it's one of the things that fires me up the most about Truck Parking Club is it has been this piece of technology that's actually given something back to drivers. It's given them not just more parking, but it's given them more time, like you just said. It's given them more autonomy on where they can go while they're out on the road, as opposed to being restricted or playing a guessing game, so to speak. It's been a tool and an asset now for drivers that's kind of given something back, as opposed to taking something away, like the new tracking stuff and driver facing cameras and all that good stuff. So appreciate that, and I'm glad Stevens is doing good. If you guys seem to do a lot of traveling, I got to give you. I'm going to text you on this on the side, but if March 26th, 28th is on your calendar for the Mid America Truck Show, I'm sure Stevens would love to have you guys there for in Louisville, Kentucky, at the end of March.
We rolled out our calendar for next year, and that's actually one of our first events on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely want to be there.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like you two are prime staples to be at some of these truck shows, especially Matt's, and then even the Jamboree up in Iowa. As you look out your calendar, take a look at some of the shows that are out there. I mean, if you love the Corvettes, there's no reason you won't love going to parking lots full of chrome. Those are some of the best parts.
We always say we need more.
Yeah, more
variety.
Yeah, I mean, if it's got wheels and it's classic, or even if it's late model and it's clean, it's cool. I definitely dig looking at all the old stuff as well as the new stuff. You touched on the technology thing. What do we have on this thing?
Our truck has 10 cameras.
Our truck has 10 cameras on it. So we do have the, when you talk about technology,
state of the art.
we do have the electronic mirrors, which, a lot of guys, like you said, some guys don't like them. Some guys, I actually really like them. The way they follow the truck when you take your left and right hand turns, phenomenal. Blind side, is a whole different game changer. You're not trying to stare at your little convex mirror hanging off the hood, trying to figure out your blind side. You can actually see because the mirrors do turn. It's got a night vision on it, so pulling into parking lots and stuff like that, you can pop on the night vision if it's a dark shipper receiver or dark lot you're pulling into. It's like pulling into daylight. So a lot of advantages on that. And then, the interior cameras, let's face it.
If you're not doing anything.
If you're not doing anything wrong, I don't see the bad in it.
I mean, we've had him since you started. And
yeah.
He's never had a violation or anything. And the cameras have saved us. When we had that hit and run.
Yeah, we ended up having a hit and run a while back. And
everything.
Camera picked up the license plate number of the guy that hit it because, if it was, try to go back to your company and explain, okay, well, this wasn't me. They're like, well, yeah, sure it wasn't. I mean, I just got through composing an email to one of our safety guys about, hey, between the New Year's and just the other day, somebody hit the front of the truck. If you can review any of the footage because, they've got incident stuffs on it where if the truck rocks a certain way or it gets hit or impacted, it'll actually turn the camera on all by itself. So, that saves the driver should you have to go to your company and be like, man, I didn't put that big ass scratch in the front of my truck. It wasn't me. I mean, and these guys with these leases,
we feel so
that's all stuff they get charged for when they go trade these trucks back in again. So it's it has its benefits for sure.
Everything has its pros and cons.
Yeah.
We've had the more pros side of it. We know there's people who haven't, but we get to live it firsthand, and we are lucky that they invest in those things, but they also give us that freedom to keep us out of having downtime. We got hit, and they were like, "We'll get you fixed right away," because they had the footage.
Yeah. They knew it wasn't us.
They knew it wasn't him, and when people do stupid stuff, they can see it. So, but we just close our curtains at night, and we don't have to worry about them seeing us.
We've all driven by the guy. He's watching his movie on a dashboard. He's got his foot up on the other side. He's, on his phone right here, barely paying attention, and the camera holds those guys credible to stuff like that. And it's, unfortunately, the society's gone today where I always say, if you take the nannies and the safety equipment off of stuff, people will actually start paying attention again because you can really get hurt. Yeah. Where, people have these crutches these days and nobody pays attention anymore. I mean, the cars are practically doing the driving for them.
Yeah, you're talking about the four-wheelers.
Well, even the trucks have opportunities to, if you get too close to things, the trucks will brake or, it's got the adaptive cruise control. So when you're running down the highway, when you come up behind other trucks, you don't have to lift or hit the brakes or do nothing. The truck slows itself down. It'll maintain a speed. And once you either clear that truck or the truck speeds up in front of you or the car speeds up in front of you, it gets back up to whatever cruise speed you had it at. So that, the technology obviously has its benefits. Right now the truck's running because we've got, instead of having a fuel-powered APU, we basically got batteries on board. So the truck only runs maybe for usually in the wintertime here, we only hear it, 20 minutes a night. Yeah, and it's usually in the early morning, it'll fire up, run for about 20 minutes, charge those batteries up, shut back down. Summertime, it might run twice during the night with the AC blowing full blast.
I like it cold. I'm the cold, he's the hot.
So yeah, technology, it's got its goods and bads. There's always going to be the long hood guys with the chrome and nothing in there, and they bought their truck 99 and older, and they're still scribbling on the rap sheets, and that's how they roll out. But I came into it kind of later in life, but being a Gen Xer, we adapt to everything. So it was one of those deals that it is what it is, and I like the late model stuff. It's comfy, it's nice to ride in, and the technology is pretty outstanding.
Oh, good to go. That's it's a double-edged sword with the driver-facing cameras. I know that the lawsuit in Illinois had to do with the data collection on drivers, and I think like you said, it's pros versus cons. Which, speaking of pros versus cons, I'd love to ask you those two questions. What is your favorite part about the industry, and what is the number one thing that you could, if you could change it, you could change it right now? Or what do you think? Best and worst. What's your favorite part of trucking, and what do you think is something we need to fix?
So obviously the freedoms of kind of being out, managing your own time, and seeing America. I mean, getting into some of these little towns and places that pulling the brakes and getting out and walking around through a little town. going and seeing a little museum. We do a lot of that we're ahead on a load. We'll stop somewhere and go tour a little museum. It's pretty awesome. Obviously the bad sides are a little more camaraderie between everybody. We do enjoy getting out and having dinners and talking to some people. So a little bit more of that. And, the cities, when they're putting these cities together, it's the freight coming in and out of the cities, whether they're building them or whether they're trying to sustain in the city with the food and the products and whatnot. So that's all trucks that brought all that stuff in. And these cities are going up and they're getting bigger, and the truck stops aren't getting any bigger, and they're getting fewer and further in between. So yeah, obviously, what is the statistic? How many trucks per spot are fighting every night?
Oh yeah, one. There's one safe parking spot for every 11 trucks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, that's probably our biggest thing. I mean, it's obviously we've got some parking lot scars on our truck to prove that it's obviously an issue. People get rushed and people get frustrated, and the lots are small and cramped, and they're few and far between.
I don't know. My biggest thing that I would love to see come back is the CB radios. I'm on that thing all the time trying to talk to people.
Yeah. We still use ours. We actually had a call the other day. Nice guy out there saw a salt stain on one of the tires, and older trucker guy, and said, "Hey man, your tire kind of looks funny." And then he got up next to us. I think it's just a salt stain on it. So it was, we still use our CB.
Yeah.
Especially if there's accidents or construction, if you got a clear lane or something like that. Yeah, that's definitely something that would be neat to come back.
Yep. We need more CB chatter.
Yes.
Truck.
Yes, we're huge proponents and supporters of requiring / mandating CB radios in trucks. They're definitely well needed. But anything to increase communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Communication, camaraderie, and just taking the downtime, and finding more positives. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody can gripe about stuff. I mean, you go to social media, and I mean, unfortunately, a lot of it is just the negative sides of everything, and bring some light, happiness, and positive into stuff. Let's be happy for a while.
Yeah, you can only drive 11 hours a day. Great, spend time seeing a city, park somewhere fun, do something enjoyable.
And if you planned your day right, you're 600 to almost 700 miles depending on terrain, weather, and conditions. So it's how much further do you want to drive? It would be nice if they modified it a little bit more than something than just the 10 hours or the splits. I understand there's been some chatter about that lately. They're trying out some test programs, kind of open that up a little bit broader, get us a few more variations of our downtime, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I know that there's some pilots that's being tested with the hours of service. Last question for you, and I know you've been out for a year and a half. But if you were talking to a brand new driver, somebody who's getting their CDL right now, what would be your number one piece of advice?
I tell all the guys that are coming out of the classes there that there at Stevens that when you're trying to get set up on your driving, obviously plan your routes and try to run that I tell everybody from 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. and try to run within those hours, and run it and shut it down then, because otherwise it just becomes chaos madhouses out there. We call it creative parking. You pull into these places and they're double stacked, triple stacked, trucks everywhere.
We skip those ones and go to a truck parking
Yeah,
club.
we do.
I get right on the app. I'm like, this is hokum.
If we're running in the evenings, a lot of times, depending on the areas we're at, we'll drop into a truck parking club for the evening, because it's just, you can slide right in and out of there and not have to deal with any of that other hoopla. Because like these, between the hot shots and some of these mega fleet guys, you can't even drive around the lot safely. It's crazy.
Absolutely. So route planning, number one tip right there. That's awesome. Before we sign off, where can the people follow along with your guys' journey over the road? Where are you at in social media? How can they find you?
So we are everywhere. We are on all the big ones: TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, or you guys call it X now, and Instagram. Everything's under the Corvette Couple. If you want it the easiest, just go to thecorvettecouple.com. You can catch our blog, all our links, and everything exciting.
Awesome. I want to appreciate you guys coming on to the Clubhouse tonight. Glad you're staying warm up there in Wisconsin. Definitely won't be the last time. And want to thank everybody for tuning in wherever you've tuned in tonight, whether you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, the Twitterverse, and beyond. If you couldn't tell whether you're just joining us or not, Corvette Couple, these two are individuals who truly want to leave this industry better than they found it. They post phenomenal content following their journey and really a lot of the good sides and the good parts of the trucking industry. They work for a very respectable carrier. And that's why we partner with people like the Corvette Couple, because at Truck Parking Club, we want to leave the industry better than we found it. At Truck Parking Club, we help truckers save time and fuel by instantly reserving truck parking all across the United States. We're at over 3,700 locations nationwide. Our goal by the end of 2026 is to be at 10,000 properties. So if you need truck parking, you go to truckparkingclub.com. You guys can use the promo code TCC20 for $20 off your next booking. And with that, guys, stay safe. Hammer down.
Thank you, sir. Happy motoring.